Hi guys, it's Mr. Corn again, ready to talk about some driver ed stuff. Okay, I want to talk about a few things as far as this is the chapter 16 unit. It's Consumer's Guide to Economical and Trouble-Free Driving, kind of a little bit of car maintenance type stuff. It's the second to last video in the book, and for the chapters in the book as well. So, um, the reason we maintain our cars is a couple reasons. We maintain our cars to keep them from breaking down. Okay, to keep them running smoothly. Maybe to reduce air pollution, depending on your position on environmentalism. You may want to be reducing air pollution by taking care of your car. Usually, you get better gas mileage as you take care of your car for longer periods of time, and you reduce the likelihood of like seizing your engine or something really big going wrong. So it's kind of a neat thing to take care of your car. It's kind of important. Okay. One of the most important things on your car that need to be checked and taken care of regularly are the tires. Okay, the tires are very important. Okay, and I'm just checking off my list here as I go along of what things I want to cover. Um, the tread on the tire is the most important thing, and if the tread depth is too low, you have a chance of slipping easier, hydroplaning in the rain, things of that nature. So you just want to be careful about that. Okay, you want to make sure your tread depth is always good. Okay, you should replace your tires when the tread depth indicators are starting to get smooth or they're running out. If you look on your tires, there's little slits on the treads, and those slits that are in the rubber eventually wear down till they get smooth. There's no slit back in the tire. They cut them in a little bit deep, maybe an eighth of an inch, quarter inch, whatever the depth is. Once those disappear, you're going to have a problem. You're not going to have enough tread on your tire. So you want to be aware of that. Okay, so that's really important to keep in mind. Okay. As we continue on, we've talked about tread and tires and the importance of the tires and those sorts of things. I want to get into a few more things. Okay. The other piece with tires is that tires need to, when you're purchasing tires, you need to think about a few things. A lot of times we go for price, okay, because price is a big factor. We don't have unlimited funds to buy tires, and tires are pretty expensive. Average tire now is running between $100 and $200 a piece, so that means a set of 4 tires between $400 and $800. Okay, for most of us, about $500 or so. Okay, you're going to look though at the tire quality. You're going to look at the tread life. You're going to look at the traction rating. You're going to look at all those things to try to decide on what tire you buy. If you buy a tire for $110 a piece that's only going to last you 30,000 miles, you're going to go broke on tires because you're going to burn out. It depends how much you drive as well. Okay, the average person in the United States is driving between 10 and 15,000 miles a year on average. That means that a 30,000 mile tire will wear about 3 to 4 years. Okay, whereas you get a 60,000 mile tire, it's going to last you a lot longer. Okay, so kind of keep those things in mind as well. One thing that we don't think about that often, okay, our cars use gas, obviously, to run, most of them, unless you're driving an electric vehicle, which some of you may start doing in the next few years. You guys are at a great cusp in development of vehicles. Okay, electric vehicles came out when I was a child, and I remember having a teacher in like first grade, and she said, "Oh, by 2000, you'll all be driving electric cars." Well, guess what? It's 2020, 2021 now, and we're not all driving electric cars. They're just starting to come into the market. Okay, the oil industry put up a good fight against them, but they're here to stay, I think, and I think we're going to start seeing more and more of them on the road. But right now we're using fuel for the most part. Okay, gasoline and oil and stuff. And when you use gasoline, you use the most of it when you're trying to accelerate that car. You're trying to make it work. Okay, obviously you got to press the gas pretty good to get it going from a stop position. But once you get up to speed, it kind of hangs there nicely. Okay, so that's something you want to be aware of as well. Another piece that can help you reduce fuel costs is carpooling. Okay, if you have a neighbor and you go to the same place of work, or somebody that lives in the town you live in, and you guys drive together, it's going to cut your fuel costs in half. One person drives one day, the next day somebody else drives, and it cuts your fuel cost basically in half because you're not commuting, especially if you got a long distance to go. Okay, so I always tell people carpooling is a great way to save money. Okay, a couple other things to remember as you're thinking about this stuff. Okay, trying to think here. Okay, another little piece of information and things to keep in in mind when you're looking at your car running and starting and stuff like that. If you go out to your car and your car won't start, could be the starter, could be an electrical problem, but sometimes it's just corrosion on your battery terminals. Okay, if you open up your hood and there's all kinds of garbage and then this little stuff we call corrosion on your battery terminals, you're going to have a hard time running your car. Okay, it's not going to start well for you. So you want to be aware of that and just kind of keep things clean underneath the hood. Okay. Oil is the lifeblood of your car, and we recommend you change it every 3,000 miles. I usually go about 3 to 5,000 because our newer cars, the synthetic oils, they last a little bit longer, but I wouldn't go much over 5,000. Okay, if you start doing that, you start risking seizing your engine and kind of clogging the gumming it up in that. The other thing is, I want to mention a couple other things here that are going to be on the quiz when you take the quiz later. Okay. Exhaust system is underneath your car. If there's a leak in it, basically your car is pushing out that carbon monoxide, causing that global warming, putting that carbon monoxide in the air and doing that greenhouse effect. Okay, not a good thing for the environment. If your exhaust system is leaking, maybe it's leaking up towards underneath your door, okay, that can allow carbon monoxide to get sucked into your car, especially if the window's open. Okay, or the vent system. So you just want to be aware of that too. Make sure you're checking your exhaust system. Make sure there's no holes in it. Make sure it's not leaking. Okay. Usually your car will get louder if your exhaust system's leaking as well. The other thing you want to be aware of is if your headlights are not aimed. And again, headlight aim, I've talked to students for years now. Headlight aim is less and less of a problem because what ends up happening with the headlight aim is your headlights are fixed into the frame of the car now. Years ago, they would be on, I had a pickup truck years ago back in the mid 80s that had my headlights were on 2 little screws. And as soon as you had a bump, they'd shift around like this and then they'd point you, driving down the road and your light would be facing off to the side. If your headlights aren't aimed correctly, you can blind other drivers. Okay, obviously. So just some things to think about. Okay, have a great day. This is the end of chapter 16.